All right, ladies and gents, if you guys kind of follow along here, you should have notes in front of you. And what you're going to do is literally fill in the blanks. You will get the answers to the blanks if you look at the Clever Touch. Okay, so some of the um, sentences have blanks, and you'll get your answers up here. Okay. So last week, you guys should have some knowledge on the scientific method and how scientists think. So we really covered observations really well. Okay. Those we use our five senses, or they can be numbers. Now scientists take that observation, it's in the scientific method, and they make it into a question. So in your notes, kind of look at what are some of the missing blanks here. Phenomena or a topic for research and experimentation or question that needs to be answered. So scientists find an observation, turn it into a question. Then the second step in the scientific method is they will research, which means find out about the topic. So research means find out about the topic. The third step in the scientific method is then they form their own hypothesis. Hypothesis. This word is a prediction on what you think will happen or the outcome of the problem or answer to their question. So, whatever the scientist is testing, it's just a prediction. And they're not just saying the prediction, but they're also stating why they think so. So sometimes your hypothesis might be wrong, and that's okay as long as you justify it. After a scientist forms their hypothesis, then they can go get the materials, do the experiment. An experiment means to develop a procedure. Procedure is a big word that means step by step process, and test their hypothesis. So, test their hypothesis means see if what they thought was going to happen was right or wrong. And as they experiment, the fifth step in the scientific method is to collect data. Data is a big word. I know it's only four letters. It means information. So, as you're experimenting, you're recording your results. You're not just doing the experiment, you're either recording it maybe in a table, a chart, tallying, okay, as you're doing the experiment. Then after you collect data, the big word, it's pronounced analysis, which means you look at your data, you look at your table, you look at your charts, and you're like, what is going on? You want to see if everyone else had the same results, if it was consistent, if it was precise. So analyze your data means to actually look at it deeply. And then you don't just clean up the materials, you have to form a conclusion. In your conclusion in science, all you're doing is saying, was my hypothesis correct or was it incorrect? That's all the conclusion is in the scientific method. And again, you might be right, you might be wrong. That is okay. So I would never ask you how many steps are in the scientific method. If you look here, it looks like 7 steps. Sometimes our science book combines a couple together, and then there's 6 steps. So you just need to know these words in the order. So scientists start with an observation, turn it into a question, then they research, form their hypothesis. What do I think will happen and why? Then the fun part, do their experiment. When you do your experiment, you want to make sure everyone's doing it the same. You have the same materials, you're doing it for the same time, the same height, so you get similar results. As you experiment, you collect data, you analyze it, which means examine your data. Data means information, and form that conclusion. So in your notes, you're going to find where it says collect and interpret data. It means that when you are actually doing your experiment and making your data or tables or charts, how do you interpret it, which means analyze? How do you examine it? What are you looking for? Okay, so data, when I ask you to do a lab sheet, maybe you do a circle graph. It could be a bar graph, a line graph, maybe just a table or tallies. You're going to select and choose